Well, thanks everybody for being here today. We're at the West End location of the Vancouver Cannabis Dispensary Society. This is one of 3 medical cannabis dispensaries, of which I am the director, that serve patients in the Lower Mainland. And I'm here today to formally announce my bid for the leadership of British Columbia's New Democratic Party. I have been a New Democrat member for 7 years, and in this time I've met many hundreds of my fellow party members in this province and across the country, and I believe that I offer a fresh vision and a real alternative choice in this leadership race. I'll be basing my campaign upon 4 principles, that is democracy, sustainability, social justice, and being smart on crime. And I'll just outline a little bit about what I mean about those four basic principles. When I speak of democracy, I mean both democracy within the NDP. I'd like to see our party move towards allowing our membership to play a greater role in policy development within our party and not only at delegated conventions. And I also support more democracy in our province, and I'd like to see the ballot initiative system improved and changed to make it more workable so that the people and citizens of this province can have a real voice in the issues of the day through referendums. When we talk about sustainability, I would like to focus on Sustainable BC, which is a wonderful document which was passed unanimously by the NDP at convention and was not really a big part of our last election campaign. And I would like to see Sustainable BC and sustainability become a central part of our next election campaign and a clear part of our platform. When I talk about social justice, I talk about making sure that the most poor, disadvantaged members of our society are not left behind. I support a $10 minimum wage indexed to inflation, which is something the NDP has called for a long time. And I also support maintaining our heritage and our legacy in terms of reversing and stopping the giving away of our institutions like BC Hydro, BC Rail, and BC Ferries. These are an important part of our province, and these should be kept, not given away and traded away to the corporate elite and friends of the Liberal Party. These should be kept for our children and our grandchildren in this province, and I would stop and reverse giving away of these institutions. And finally, I talk about being smart on crime. And a big part of that is ending the prohibition of cannabis and the drug war in British Columbia. The vast majority of British Columbians recognize that the war on marijuana has failed and is very harmful. And it's time for our province to take a strong stand against the federal government's war on cannabis. We need to stand against Harper's prison's spending spree. And although this is a federal law, it is the provinces which bear the brunt of the costs of enforcing these laws. It is the province which pays for the courts, the police, and the prisons. And it's time that we said enough is enough. We're not going to stand for this anymore. And British Columbia wants to tax and regulate and control cannabis at the provincial level. The province could also take a large step towards allowing medical marijuana to be regulated and taxed in this province as well. Those are the basics of what I stand for and what I believe and why I'm putting my name forward for leadership of the British Columbia New Democratic Party. And I welcome any questions at this time.
If I may, 2 years ago you resigned as a candidate for as an MLA for the New Democratic Party during a federal election because of some videos showing you under the influence. What have changed that 2 years later? 2 years ago, you resigned as a candidate to become just an MLA, just quote unquote. Now you applied for the job of leader of the opposition and hopefully, from your perspective, Premier of the province. What have changed in 2 years?
Well, that was actually for the federal level that I resigned. It was at the MP, yes. Well, that was during an election campaign, a time when I didn't want to be disrupting Jack Layton's message and the message of the federal party, and so I thought it best to step back rather than having the focus be on me at that time. That wasn't appropriate. However, at this point, I think that it's appropriate for me to run for leader of the BC NDP. Those videos in question were produced over 10 years ago. They were supposed to be entertaining and fun and outrageous. I did those for Pot TV. I'm not particularly ashamed of the things that were shown in those videos, but I think that at the time it was appropriate for me to step down and not distract from the focus of the federal campaign. But I think I do offer some good ideas and a good alternative.
Dana, what support do you have from current sitting MLAs?
I've met with a number of current MLAs and former MLAs. None of them have endorsed me at this time, but I've had some encouragement to run from them.
So what will you do to get their support? Because you obviously need support of the people who are sitting right now in the legislature.
I think a lot of the MLAs are jockeying for position, deciding if they're going to run and making those kind of choices, and we'll see how things come, and I'll hope to be making some announcements along that lines in the future.
Do you think the dissident members of the party made the right move in kind of forcing Carol out of the leadership?
I think that there's a leadership race on now, and that's good. I don't want to really look back at the past too much. I'd rather look forward as to where our party is going. But I think that the party can be invigorated and renewed by a leadership race, and I think that we'll be able to bring in a lot of new people to our party and get a lot of excitement, and so a leadership race is good for the party in that way.
What would you say to parents of children that don't want to see a future leader of this province on video saying, "I'm fried now and I'm hallucinating"?
That's not quite what I said, but however, I think that the people of this province, the vast majority of them, understand that cannabis is a benign substance that should be legalized. I think that people aren't going to hold those videos against me, and I think if anybody watches that, they'll see a fairly responsible person using these things in a responsible way.
Do you think you can win?
I think I have a good chance of winning, yeah. I think that in this kind of a race, because it's a preferential ballot, people are able to vote their heart and not necessarily having to vote strategically. I plan on bringing a lot of new members into the party, and I'll let the voters and the members of the BC New Democrats decide who they want for their leader.
Don't you think some people, given all the questions you've been asked about the videos, won't even consider you a serious candidate, though?
We've got a good over 3 months for this campaign to run, and I think by the end of that time, the members of the party will have gotten to know me quite well and be able to make an informed decision.
You're talking about 3 months, but you got a month to sign members, roughly.
Yeah, we've got until mid-January to sign up new members, yes. And I'll be...
What is your strategy to reach people and have them sign cards for the NDP?
Well, we're reaching out to people all across the province. We're sending out our membership form packages to supporters all across the province and urging people to sign up new members, and I expect to sign up a substantial number of new members.
What is your strength in the interior? You're pretty well known in Lower Mainland, largely because of the dispensary, but how do you evaluate your strength in the interior?
Well, I think my core constituency is medical cannabis users and people who want to see an end to prohibition, which I think is a lot of people in this province. There's many, many thousands of people who use medical cannabis in British Columbia, and I'll be reaching out to them and encouraging them to get involved. And anybody who believes in this issue, I think, is part of my core constituency, and the people that I will be signing up and encouraging them to get involved in the BC New Democrats.
Dana, you might be seen as kind of a one-issue candidate to the public. How are you going to try to expand your public image?
Well, I brought forward a number of issues today, and one of those is certainly cannabis. It's a big issue. It's our province's largest industry, and it's something that I think should be brought above board and legitimized and taxed and regulated. So it's an issue that I want to bring up, but I have a lot of other issues that I bring up as well, and I think just because somebody works in a particular field doesn't mean that's all they're interested in. If I was promoting racial justice or sexual equality, doesn't mean I'm not interested in the environment or in cannabis reform. So yes, my specialty and what I've worked in for most of my life is cannabis law reform, but I support many other issues as well, and I'll be able to bring those forward during the campaign.
Right now the province is reviewing the RCMP's contract. If you were leader, would you boot them from this province, and could you work with them with your marijuana views?
I think we need civilian oversight of the RCMP, and failing that, I would support getting rid of the RCMP in BC and having a provincial police force. And I think that the RCMP are professionals and would be able to work with whoever is the premier of this province. And there's many police officers, by the way, who agree strongly with the idea that the prohibition of cannabis has failed.
When you were talking about marijuana, you used the word war on drugs. What's your position regarding other illegal substance, be it hashish, opium, or heavy-duty drugs?
The whole war on drugs is a failure and is producing the opposite results of what it's trying to achieve. I support harm reduction. I support expanding the supervised injection site program across the province to other communities that want and need one. And I support moving away from crime as from prisons as our main source of dealing with this issue and treating it as a health and a social issue. So I think that that's the way we have to rejig our focus on the war on drugs.
What do you mean by that, though? Taking it all out of the criminal code?
Largely, I think we need to regulate and control these substances. So there would still be legal penalties involved, just as there is for many alcohol, being involved in alcohol or selling alcohol illegally or smuggling tobacco. Those things are all against the law. But I would support a system of making available regulated dosages, safe dosages of these substances available through a doctor's prescription or other regulated controlled form.
Cocaine, ecstasy,
heroin?
I think that people who use stimulants or opiates, cocaine or heroin, should be able to, who are addicted to those things, should be able to get a prescription for that from a doctor to take them out of the criminal justice system and treat it as a health issue. Should not be put in jail because of what they put into their own body. That should not be a crime. That doesn't mean we're going to have these things totally unregulated and available in every way. In fact, that's what we have now, is an unregulated system where it's very easy to acquire these things without any kinds of regulation or control. So I would support a regulated access system.
Do you think it makes sense to spend so much money on policing when we could do it another way?
Harper is going to be spending billions of dollars on building prisons, and we're losing a lot of money, spending a lot of money on policing that we don't need in this province. We should be focusing police resources on real crimes and not on people who choose to use marijuana or people who are addicted to other substances. Those people are not criminals and should be taken out of the criminal justice system.
So right now, what's the NDP's position for the marijuana legalization?
The NDP official policy is to support legalization of marijuana at the provincial level. The party has many policies. Not all those make it into the platform or become a high priority for the party. So I support the party on this issue, but I would like to see us make it a higher priority and a more important issue and something we bring forward in the next election campaign. Over the next few months, people will get to see what I have to say, and the voters of the NDP can decide for themselves.
So far, there's nothing you can point to that shows you have support in the party.
I'll be bringing out more information like that over the coming weeks.
You're applying for the job of leader of the party that have just expelled, that have forced a leader to get out of the party. We had 85% of support of the party apparatus on one side, 60% of support of her caucus, and she was nevertheless forced to resign. How the hell are you going to lead such a party?
I think the NDP will pull together around whoever becomes the new leader. I think that there's always internal challenges and conflict in any party. There's some unfortunate aspects to how this played out. But I believe that whoever the new leader is, the party will unite behind that person and go forward into the next election as a solid team working together for the people of this province.
What if you're not picked leader? Are you going to run for MLA?
It's too soon to make decisions like that. I will continue to be involved in the party and help the party make progress, regardless of who becomes the leader.
You also had to resign because of some cocoa seed company that you ran.
I'm the founder of the Vancouver Seed Bank, and for a time they sold coca leaves, whole coca leaf imported from Peru. I believe that people who chew coca leaf is not particularly harmful activity. It could indeed be beneficial. And we found that we had people who used cocaine who came to our store and told us that when they chewed coca leaf, they were able to stabilize themselves and use less cocaine and be more functioning people. And so I see that as a form of harm reduction. But it's not something we do anymore. That was years ago, and that's something that hasn't happened for quite a long time. Many years ago, I told them that I'd smoked marijuana in the past, and for some customs agents, that's enough of an issue to not be able to cross the border. But I haven't really tried in a long time, so I'm not really sure what the status of that is now. Well, I believe the Premier of this province could make a strong moral stand against the war on cannabis and against the war on drugs. As I mentioned, it is the provinces which pay the brunt of the costs of enforcing the war on cannabis and the war on drugs. Also, I believe that the province of British Columbia could legalize, regulate cannabis dispensaries like this one and the growers that produce for us. They could designate them as health facilities, as the supervised injection site was designated, bringing them under provincial health jurisdiction, and that will be a big step forward as well. The federal medical cannabis program is a failure, and it needs to be replaced at the provincial level. And the province could also tax and regulate cannabis. There's a lot we can do in the province to change these laws, and we need a strong stand provincially to make that happen.
Will you be traveling around the province?
Yes, I will be traveling around the province, and I'll be signing up new members and meeting my fellow New Democrats. I am the director of this dispensary and also of another 2 dispensaries. There's 2 nonprofit societies I'm a director of, which operate 3 dispensaries in the Lower Mainland. That's my job. Yes, that's where I get my salary.